Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Heart Talk. Today is the 19th day of February, 2019, and I'm Sue Ellen Dickinson, and I'm going to be your host for the next hour or so. And we've got a lot to talk about today. Very, very, very interesting subject that I ran across called unexpected sadness. And we're going to get into that here in just a minute. But before we do, let me remind you that Heart Talk is so much more than just an ordinary call, because this is where you can speak your mind straight from your heart. And that's exactly what we're going to do this morning, just like we do every Tuesday morning right here on Heart Talk. And before we really get into the meat and potatoes of everything, as I like to say, let me remind you that Heart Talk is brought to you by The Essentials. In case you haven't heard about The Essentials, well, they're an amazing supplemental product that has been formulated, created, and produced by our very own Dr. Rudy Cartwright. In case you don't know who Dr. Rudy Cartwright is, he is a neurosurgeon. That's a brain surgeon. He also is an expert, a highly renowned expert in multiple sclerosis. So he knows what it's all about. He gets it, and he knows what we're going through. So what did he do? He put these amazing products together. And I call The Essentials his flagship product. Oh, that's just me, just a name that I gave him. But The Essentials are designed to help get rid of fatigue, pain, tingling, and numbness, to help with vision problems and balance, and clear up that pesky old brain fog. So where are my essentials? I need to clear up my brain fog this morning. Haven't taken them yet, so I need to do that while we're on the call. By the way, all natural ingredients go into The Essentials, and you can take them with your current medications. And so if you've been thinking about, I've tried this, I've tried that, but I sure need to get my energy back. I want to get my energy back. I want to start going back to doing the things I used to do, because I just don't like the space I'm in or the way I'm feeling. Think about picking up yourself a bottle of The Essentials. First of all, I know you're going to be glad you did. Why? Well, because they're helping people to feel better, one less symptom at a time. And we've got a number of people on this call live right now who do take The Essentials. And I know that they swear by them as much as I do. And so there you go. If you are looking for something new that you haven't tried before, that works, that other people are saying, hey, it really works for me, why don't you give it a try? Then I say to you, what in the world do you have to lose by giving it a try? And except maybe a symptom or two. You might lose some of that. So how can you get them? Well, great question. As soon as we're done with this great call we're about to have, I'm going to send you an email. In that email will not only be the replay link to this great conversation we're about to have, which I encourage you to share with family and friends, but also scroll down in that email, and you'll see in capital letters, Get Dr. Cartwright's Products. Right underneath that, there will be a link to The Essentials as well as Dr. Cartwright's other products. But click on those Essentials. Like I say, I just call them the flagship product. They're sort of like the granddaddy of them all, if you will. And really pick yourself up a bottle of The Essentials. I know you're going to be glad you did. And I say that because they are helping people to feel better, one less symptom at a time. So there you go. All right. Well, I'm so glad everybody's here. Is there anybody I have not welcomed to the call yet that may have come on while I was doing my little intro there? But if not, I know we've got people from all over, and we've been talking about the weather in different parts of the globe and how it's affecting us, and it does affect us in many ways, and we can go there if you want to in a little bit. But let's start off with this very interesting article that I found by a new writer, to us anyway. Her name is Donna Steigleder, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. And before I get into it, let me just take a sip of my juice, please. And Donna has stepped up, and she stepped up in a little bit of a different way, because Donna is a caregiver to her husband, Lynn. who has MS. And she has written this article called Unexpected Sadness. And I want to share this with you because it's a new perspective that not only from a caregiver's perspective, but it's one I know all of us can relate to. Because, first of all, one of the first things that struck me is that we don't hear very much, if at all, sometimes, from the caregivers. And, I'm not sure why. I don't know. We just don't. But here, Donna Steigleder tells us all about herself. And, like I said, her husband, Lynn, and how MS has impacted and really devastated their lives and most of their dreams. But Donna impressed me with her honesty and her down-to-earth clarity of thoughts and emotion over what has really come to overwhelm them both. And, of course, we're talking about multiple sclerosis. And in this article I'm about to read to you, to refresh your memory or enlighten you for the first time if you haven't heard it, but her description is both courageous and heartbreaking, both at the same time. So allow me to read this to you, and I'd love to hear your perspective on this, okay? So here is Donna as caregiver perspective in what she calls unexpected sadness. I got hit by feelings of sadness unexpectedly today. Keeping myself out of my husband's sight at all times, I had to work really hard to hide the fact that I was very close to crying. Usually I guard my emotions well and rarely break down. However, I have one weakness I just can't seem to guard against, and that is music. Lynn had the most beautiful tenor voice you'd ever want to hear before his MS progressed this far. And it was his singing that sealed the deal for me in deciding to take the chance on marrying him and bringing our two families together. I had been burned badly in my first marriage and was very hesitant to remarry. But Lynn was just as reluctant as I was as far as setting a date, but he was very romantic. Me, on the other hand, I wouldn't let my guard down in order to give him my heart either. Afraid of being hurt a second time, I kept up an emotional barrier until he wrote a song that he sang to me as part of his marriage proposal. I love his voice, and to hear him sing as he plays his guitar or drums just melts my heart. One of the ways we bonded as a couple was to participate in church activities together. We both were part of the adult choir, handbells, dinner theater, and Sunday school. Plus, Lynn played guitar and drums for the praise band, while I helped with the drama team. All of these activities gradually stopped as his MS became worse. One of his last solos at church was him singing, "I Can Only Imagine." It was the last time he accompanied himself during a performance. Everyone at church knew he was struggling with MS and had already given up role in the praise band. But as he finished his solo, he received a standing ovation, and several members were openly crying. Many still talk about how poignant his last performance was, both from the standpoint of how well he performed and the appropriateness of the song's message. Lynn's voice represents to me so much of who he is. It illustrates his vibrant personality and vibrancy. He used to be the lead singer in several bands in his 20s, and today, as I was giving him his morning care, we listened to several 70s songs he used to sing with the band. And suddenly, it hit me in the gut. I could hear him singing those songs, his voice so strong and energetic. He still sings regularly to exercise his diaphragm, but he doesn't have the strength to bellow out a strong vocal. The loss of that ability just shot through me and I wanted to sit down and have a good cry. Lynn's back was to me, so he couldn't see I had teared up. I kept blinking until my eyes cleared. He never knew I'd become upset. It took me a while before the feelings left, so I had to keep chattering about nonsense for a while just to keep the conversation on a light topic. But the melancholy is still there to some degree. I've accepted the fact that he's lost most of what he can do. And I know Lynn can still sing, though not as strong as he once did, but I still grieve the loss of what once was and the memories of what that voice meant to me. It's a symbol for me of all the losses we've had to accept. And it hurts. Are you there?
Yeah,
I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. What do you think?
So sad.
Yeah.
So sad. But you know what? He still sings.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's an important, very important thing, that he's still able to sing. He can't belt out what he used to, but he can still sing, and I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, I do too. It's a beautiful thing. And you know what I think is just as important is he wants to.
Yeah.
He has
that he wants to.
Yeah.
Mhm. So I think you can grieve the past, but the present is right there, and he's singing. Mm-hmm. Like, how long have they been together, I wonder? Well, years, right? Because they were very young when they met.
Yeah. I got the feeling when she said the songs of the 70s that he used to sing with his band that they knew each other back then,
Yeah. I think that, people need to grieve what they've lost in the past, but I think there's, and maybe she hasn't grieved that before. Maybe she needs to do it now. Yeah. And that's what she's doing, but then you can grieve it and let it go and see what you have now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Does that sound too simple? I just, No,
it's not. It's not simple at all. It's very profound. A lot of it's very, very profound, actually. Very profound, because it's a step, I think, that needs to be taken. And like I said before I started reading Donna's article there, is I think we can all relate to it. This MS takes something from all of us. It does.
Another part that struck me
what?
was that I don't think she talks to him about it. She's saying that she's turning away from him and secretly, well, not secretly, but quietly crying, or she doesn't want him to see that she's upset. Mm-hmm. I wonder if she's ever talked to him about how she feels about what's happened.
I got the distinct same impression that she was hiding her tears. Now, that I suppose could be a number of reasons. Maybe she, on the lighter side, didn't want to embarrass herself. But maybe she doesn't want to hurt him. Maybe he doesn't see. You know the old saying, "Too close to the forest to see the trees." Maybe he doesn't see himself going downhill like she does. Maybe he has cognitive deficiencies now, and perhaps he can't remember that far back. I can remember going through a lot of that and still do sometimes. I don't know if any of you have that, but, I know that, other family members can remember, for example, things that I've just plain forgotten, long forgotten. So perhaps he falls into that, or they fall into that category. I don't know, but that certainly could be part of the equation. But you're right, she keeps it to herself.
And that's not good for her.
No.
It's not good for her.
No.
And if I don't know, in my family, if there's something that's hurting me or I'm upset about something, I always talk to my husband about it. Whether it's about him or not about him, we discuss it and talk about it. We cry about it. And maybe all families don't do that.
I don't think, excuse me, I don't think they do.
Yeah.
I think that you have a very rare case of open communication. I could be wrong. There could be, people listening to this on the replay. The majority say, no, we do. But my experience is that sometimes things get so deep and deeply private and deeply personal and hurt so bad. It's like, she ends saying it hurts. That's how she ends. And I was struck that was as far as she went with that, which told me, as eloquent as she was for the rest of the whole body of the article. Now, she ended it beautifully, don't get me wrong. Certainly made her point. But I felt she cut herself off because it was too painful to go any further in explanation.
And maybe that's why she's not talking to him about everything about how she feels.
Yeah, could be. Easily could be, yeah. But she's the caregiver, don't forget. And does she have a different perspective on things than we do?
Yeah.
I think more so it's not that she's not trying to communicate with him, but it's hard for a caregiver to show their weakness or show their emotions because they have to be strong for you.
Exactly. Good point.
But all the time?
Yes,
his
all
wife,
the time.
Right?
Yes.
Does she need to be strong all the time?
She has to be strong all the time because if she falls weak, then what happens to him? You get what I'm saying? Like, if I show that if I'm caring for somebody that's sick, because I went through this with my mom, she showed the strong emotions to me so that I wouldn't break down and I fall apart, and when she was going into that state of sadness or anything, she would, kind of stay away from me, keep her distance, and things like that. When I was going through my episodes where it was just, I really had to have somebody there for me, she was there for me every minute. I mean, she was the one driving me to my appointments. She was the one feeding me my medications and all that kind of stuff. But she did not come over showing her weakness. But when she was by herself, she would go off and cry because she could not see me in this state. She did not want to see me like this. But when she was around me, she made it to where it's okay, because she has to be strong for me, because if she breaks down in front of me, how am I going to be able to handle it? Because the first thing I'm going to think is, oh, my God, it's this bad. She's breaking down. She's going to make me break down, and so forth or another. So she can't communicate with him. She has to go off and try to communicate with someone else, and she may not have anybody else that could understand what she's going through, so she's all by herself.
Well, I mean, maybe she has a friend that she can talk to.
Some people have friends, and some people have friends that just don't care because they don't understand.
Well, usually during our life, we have at least one friend that is, that we can trust with whatever we need to say. We can say anything to them, and they accept it.
Correct.
That's
the person,
been my experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the person that I found that in my lifetime and it's crazy, but I relied on my oldest son. I relied on my oldest son because he was the only person that could understand from my point, like when my family if I didn't have anybody there, my son was there with me. So he knew about, hey, Mom can't get out of bed today. or she can't get out of bed for a week, or, you know, she's got to be in a wheelchair and I got to help her and I got to make sure she's got her medicine. When my mom was at work and she couldn't leave, my son was there to take care of me, you know. So the bond that we built with each other, you know, and he was young. That's the thing. He was very young. So it's like I'm relying on this little boy to help me out because I have no adult there and that's living in my home with me that could help me. He was the one there. And so he had to get the bulk of everything, you know, my lash outs and so forth or another. He had to be strong because if he fell down or fell apart on me, what am I going to do? You know, I'm going to be like, oh, my God, he's falling apart, so it's that bad, it's that serious. And, you know, and he was the one that was always there, you know, it's okay, Mom, you're fine. You're going to walk again. You know, the one that's in there every day with me. My mom was there, but, again, when she seen me, she couldn't handle it, so she tried to be as strong as she could when she was around me, but when she was gone, she broke down. You know, she told me this after the fact, you know, or whatever. Like, one day we were out, and I dropped something. I dropped the soda out of my hand, and she just, you know, she left. She immediately just exited the door, and I was like, where did she go? Well, maybe she had to go somewhere. She literally left the place that we were so that she could be by herself to get herself together so when she came back around me, she wasn't in that emotional state just because I dropped the soda out of my hand. You know, you would think, whoops, everybody is clumsy, but it was the effects of what she felt came from me dropping that soda was due to my MS symptoms. You know, I would have told everybody, you know, I'm just clumsy, but to her it was heartbreaking because Toretta dropped her soda. So the emotional state that a caregiver has to go through, it's just as bad on them as it is on us, really, because they're seeing the bulk of everything, and some things they may see that we don't even see.
Yeah, you're right. With family, yeah, I can see that.
Very, very well put, Toretta. I concur with you. Your points are good, Virginia, but I've got to go with Toretta on that one because they do see what we can't. You know, we are, you know, like anything else in life, we're too close to the forest to see the trees. And them being the caregiver, they have to be on point at all times. They have to be the rock. You know, they are
all the time.
All that they have. That's their job.
Good point.
Yeah.
Totally missed that one.
No. That's you didn't miss it. It wasn't just another angle to look at it from. But it is because these people are the ones that take the brunt. You know, they
and that they're there all the time, required all the time.
24/7.
And I've been on both sides. You know, I was on that side with my grandmother. I had to be the rock, to be strong for everybody. But in the end, when she was gone, as long as I stayed strong, I completely broke down in front of a huge audience of people. And it was like, I'm weak now. Everybody sees that I'm not that strong. And literally, guys, I can't even go into her house now. And she's been gone over a year, and I still cannot get myself to go in the house where we used to live. I used to live there, too. So it's like that's a part of a memory that I'm like, it doesn't look the same. My grandmother's not there. I'm not going, you know, and my aunt lives there, and I tell her all the time, don't think I'm just not trying to come visit you. I just can't. You know, I'm the type of person, I'm going to come to you and let you know. But at the same time, certain people, I can't let them know, hey, I can't be around you because I'm falling weak and I know you need me to be strong. Because there's some people you can't do that to, and there's others that you might can. So it's just like a 50-50. You got to know who you can break down around and who you can't. And it's really, really hard. It's not easy at all.
Well, that's a family member or a trusted friend. You know?
Yes. Somebody close. Somebody close to you.
Yeah.
Somebody close to you.
Yeah.
And just to elaborate a little bit, Toretta, on what you were saying, it's not a weakness to break down in front of a whole crowd of people.
No.
It's part of the human condition, because for so long, you, as well as any other caregiver, you've got to just, excuse my French, but you've got to suck it up, right? You cannot let it out. Like we're saying, you've got to be the rock. You are the rock of Gibraltar in the family at that time. Sooner or later, all that emotion that you've, held under pressure within you, it's got to come out. It's got to come somewhere. Yep. So when the person passes or gets better, let's hope, or whatever the case may be, that there's a release process that has to happen. Human nature, it's forced to happen, and to one way or another. And this is one reason why we're always saying to each other, "Let it out, let it all hang out."
That's right.
Express yourself. But under the situation you've described, you are under a controlled environment for an indefinite period of time while Grandma was sick, let's say, or Donna while her husband Lynn is sick, let's say, and so many, many others that may be listening on the replay to this call right now. We don't know how many are reaching out for help, because it's a very lonely place to be. And eventually, that emotion has to be expressed. It has to come out. It has to be expressed. You agree?
I agree. And sometimes, like you say, it has to come out because we're human. But for my family, I am their rock. I'm their go-to for everything, even if it's just a little simple, can you give me a phone number, because they know I've always been there for everybody. So still now, to this day, just like early this morning, for example, my cousin, she texts me a message and says, can you give me the telephone number because my phone is out. Okay, you got a telephone bill. You've got your phone. You can look these things up, but I'm the go-to person for everybody. So when I say I broke down in front of an audience of people and it made me feel weak because everybody thinks I'm strong and I can handle anything, I can be, and I tell them, guys, I'm human too. I'm not a robot or anything, wish I could be with everything y'all have put on my plate. But everybody looks at me as Toretta can do it. If nobody else can do it, Toretta can do it. She can figure it out. And they don't look upon, hey, we know she's sick, but she still got it. She's smarter than the average cookie. Even though she's sick and she goes through this, she goes through that, she's better than us, and this and that. And I'm looking at them like, guys, no, I'm not. And they're like, yes, you are. They're there to encourage me, to let me know, regardless of what is going on in my life, I still can do the same things I've been doing in the past for them. Don't stop now. Keep doing it. I just may not do it as fast, and things like that. Like yesterday, I'm looking for something in my car, and I can't figure out where it's at and how to use it. I can't figure out how to get the radio back to where it needs to be. And I'm like, wait a minute. How can I not figure this out? This is crazy. So I just simply turned it off and then turned it back on. I said, okay, that'll fix it. It's just sometimes you kind of tend to forget things, and I don't think it's just being sick you do. You do it in the everyday life because you got so much going on in the world now, and you got this to remember, that to remember, this to do, that to do. So it's part of human life. It's part of the aging process, and boy, don't I feel like I've aged. But, it's like.
No, but you were talking about how you felt that you couldn't break down because there were people around.
Because all the people
you had to
that
take care of everybody. But
yes,
you do have a bedroom, I assume, right?
I was in the church. I was in the church.
You do have a bedroom in your house, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and you do have a bed. Mm-hmm. Right. Well, when you go to bed at night, that's when you get it all out.
Well, see, at this moment, I was so emotional, and I had held it in for so long that it just came out. It's kind of like
to come out. It's
it's like if you got to use the bathroom, you're in a tight, and you're trying to hold on, but you can't make it. That's how it was for my tears. They had to come out, and I had been there. seen my grandmother and everything, and I said, I'm strong, I'm fine, I've got this, I've got everybody. And then most importantly, I wanted to be strong for my mom, my sister, my boys, and
but it
especially my
has
youngest.
To come out. It still
yes,
has to
and
come
I
out.
broke down in front of all of them, and they end up being stronger than me in the end. And I'm just like,
That's
I'm
right.
the big crybaby, and I'm supposed to be taking care of y'all.
That's okay, Jaretta. That's
but
okay.
then they would look down on me and say, we can't depend on her. She's a crybaby. Those are the kind of thoughts that run through our heads,
Jaretta's having a hard time now. That's what it is. Let's give her support.
But people did actually give me support. My best friends
right.
were there with me. So it was, it was that it wasn't like I was by myself. I had people there to support me when I couldn't be strong anymore for everybody that I was trying to be strong for. I had them turn around to be strong for me, and I appreciate them so much, and I'll never forget those moments that, when I broke down, I had people there, but I'm so used to being there for everybody else.
That's right.
So that's how I feel that, why she feels the sadness is because I'm here for him all the time. I can't let him see me, cry or be sad. And, it hurts me. Yes, it does. But I don't have nobody else here because I'm here by myself,
But, Virginia's right. Crying is, now I can understand Donna, so I'm going to kind of sidestep that a little bit. But in your case, crying is not a weakness. And in that particular case, this was, your grandmother had already, left the confines of this earth. So it's a little bit of a different situation. And I would almost think that one would be expected to break down, as they say. It is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of love in a case like that, in the environment you were in, a church saying goodbye to a dearly loved one. So I think there is a line, perhaps a fine line, between what you experienced with Grandma and maybe what Donna is experiencing with her husband Lynn, simply because Grandma, that was the finality of it, and you were expressing your feelings about the finality of it, and your job was essentially done, such as it was at that time with Grandma. However, Donna, far from done. She's still got to put on the show, and I don't mean to. That's not said lightly. But she does. She has to put the mask on to preserve him and to protect him. She is protecting him. She's protecting Lynn in her way. It's motherly. It's what mothers do, to protect the young, to protect the weak in the family. I don't know how you feel about that, but that's the way I see it.
I think tears are just a release of emotion.
I agree.
And
if you knew who I was, you would understand why I think that tears for me are weakness, because I was one that I didn't cry. I didn't get emotional for things. I was always that strong, hard barrier that, I had this strong, hard, I guess you could say, wall built up that things like this I did not try to get emotional about because I had to stay strong all my life. So, when I used to get spankings and stuff, my mom was like, you just do not cry. And I was like, I would try my best not to cry when I got spankings. And, oh, my gosh, I got my share of spankings. But it was like she just did, you're so strong. People over the years are like, you're such a strong person. You don't cry for this. You don't cry for that. And as I got older, of course, I guess the emotional side hit me or whatever, life or what have you. But I've always been that strong person. So for them to see me cry, it was a sign of weakness to me, I felt, because that's not who I was. That's why I say now when I break down or something, it's like, to me, in my head, I feel that's a sign of weakness because everybody knows me not to do that. So this is unexpected of me, in the situation. So that's why I say things like that for myself. it may not for everybody, but for me, I've always been that strong-willed person. So when I break down in front of you guys, when I break down in front of anybody, it's like, to me, it's a sign that, oh my God, I felt weak, because this is not me normally.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask, what would you tell Donna? What would you say to Donna?
What would I say to Donna?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That, Donna, when you get by yourself, you can let it out, but don't let it out in front of that person, because that may discourage him as being your husband, and he probably looks at her as being the strong barrier for him, and that's how he can continue, and that's what's making him continue to progress with his life. And he thinks everything is going to be okay because he has this strong woman by his side. Like they say, behind every strong man, there's a stronger woman. And right now, that's what he's probably dependent on to continue with his life and to do the best that he can for what he's able to do. So if he sees her break down and she does it in front of him, or she goes to him and tell him, I can't handle it, it's going to make him fall weak.
Yeah, but what
So
if?
I would tell her to go off to herself.
Go ahead, Virginia.
What if she went to him and she was crying, and he asked her what was wrong, and she said, I'm having a really sad day today, and I just need some time, either on my own, or can we, be together? Can I talk to you? That's
they
allowed.
have to, I think within their own home, if it's the two of them, they have to somehow communicate.
That's right, Carol.
And if she, okay, I can understand as a caregiver, like you're not always going to be wanting to break down or, in front of the person that you're caring for, but she's got to somehow take care of her own emotions.
That's right.
By letting them out. And I would think he, as having MS, would understand the situation also. Like, why cannot they share their moments of tears? I don't mean every day or all the time, but periodically.
I agree, 100%.
Just to clear the air. It's sort of like...
Go ahead.
If she's caring for him, sometimes she's got to step away from the situation, and that would depend on how much care she has to give him.
Yeah, we don't know where he is or the level of care that she provides. We don't know these things. But let me just extend this a little bit to you guys individually. Everybody on this call right now, maybe a lot of people listening to it on the replay. By the way, we welcome all you people to Heart Talk, whether it's the first time you're tuning in or if you've been with us for a while, but we welcome you. But everybody that I know on this call live right now has suffered losses of some degree. How, well, first of all, are you aware of the losses that you have suffered or that have affected your family? And how have you adjusted, or have you? Have you accepted it? Do you reject it and fight back? How do you handle that? I know that's a tough question, but I'm really on a hunt here for the answer to that. I want to know how you guys feel.
I haven't accepted the loss, but I have to take it day by day and understand that one day we're all going to have to go the same way. And it's not easy. It's a day-for-day task, to wake up in the morning and things that you normally do, you may pick up your phone or, reach out to someone and they're no longer there. And you got to, kind of rationalize and think about, all you have are the memories, because you can't hear their voice anymore. You've got to try to play it in your head, remember the good times, you had together, and just thank God that you were able to get those chances and those times to be with one another. And I come from a family that we have mainly women in our family because we did lose a lot of our men. So we had to be strong for one another or each other or, and so forth. And we have some that, are not so strong that we have to be strong for them. I've had to experience that a lot. It's really hard. It's not easy. So your emotions are haywire. You don't know what to really do. You just have to take it day by day and just try to, just go on with your everyday life. But it's always going to be an emptiness there and a sadness because you're going on and you're like, well, I'm not doing this anymore, or I'm not seeing that person anymore. And you do think about sometimes, how can I make it without, this person or that person, or having to be able to do this again. I used to be able to run, and now I can't run in, my little, if I had did marathons, or you used to exercise a certain way and you can't do it anymore. You got to try to figure out another way that you can continue going on with your everyday life and not include that aspect of what you used to do or how you used to do it. And it's hard. It's not easy.
Well, yeah. Virginia, sure. What about you?
I think about when I lost my dad. I grieved for a long time. I mean, people grieve. And it's, 1 minute you feel like you're just strong as the world, and the next second you're crying. And then it just goes on, and it hits you at different times, on different days, maybe many times a day in the beginning. But I worked through it, but it was a gradual thing.
What about your deeply personal losses, the physical losses that MS has taken from you? I know I can think back to some real challenges you've had. Now, do you call them challenges, or have you lost parts of your ability, let's say? And how do you deal with it?
As long as we're talking about tears, and this has nothing to do with MS, I've been finding out lately, I think my eyes are very, very dry, or I know they are, and I can't form saliva in my mouth very readily.
Okay, Carol, can you hold that thought? I really want to go to Virginia and get her to answer this for me. Can you hold that thought for a minute, please, about your eyes?
Okay.
Virginia?
Mm-hmm.
What's your answer?
I don't know.
What do you mean?
What was the question?
Your personal losses. I can think back to some real problems that you have had with your legs, with walking, with the stairs, just as an example. The strobe lights, remember the strobe light parties? So those, I would, at least superficially, I would categorize that as a loss. A loss of whatever. So my question is, the losses that have taken, just like Lynn in the article, okay? He's losing his voice, no matter how you cut it. Yeah, he can still sing because he exercises his diaphragm. It's a great thing. The diaphragm is a huge muscle right there beneath our lungs. But he's lost so much. Now, but we all have with this. Now, we lose it for different reasons, the aging processes, oh, heavens, all kinds of things. But I'm talking specifically about the losses of MS, because those come typically in our younger years, or they begin to we deteriorate in our younger years. So, how do you handle? Do you examine them or analyze them as challenges that you're working to recover, or do you accept them as losses? How do you handle that?
Well, I don't know why that's such a hard question for me.
That's a tough one. It's a very hard question for everybody, I think.
Yeah. I guess I get frustrated, when I was face down on the rock not that long ago. Yeah, that was really hard to get back up and to get back up. I think you take them one at a time and do the best that you can do. I mean, at the time, I thought I was doing the best that I could do, But I don't.
Yeah, I threw you a curveball there, and
you did.
That was a tough one, because when we don't always lose our sense of balance or equilibrium overnight. We don't always lose our sense of touch or muscle control, as Toretta described dropping the soda overnight. It's a gradual thing, typically. And one day we kind of wake up or look up, as in your case, from the ground and say, oh, dear God, what just happened?
I had to roll over first.
Am I still here? I know. Been there, done that many, many times. And how do you basically deal with that? I mean, do you accept the loss? I am losing my balance. I have lost my balance. I am losing my sense of touching and feeling this soda can in my hand. What?
I hate to say this.
Go ahead.
I really hate to say this.
Go ahead.
But I think I'm in denial.
Why?
Because I don't spend any time thinking about my losses. I just live my life. Well, okay, it's like this. Got to deal with it and just move on.
Right. And I admire that, because basically that was kind of what I knew you were going to say. But the way I'm saying is that some people, perhaps more than not from a caregiver standpoint, will see it differently because their perspective is different, of course. And they are unaffected physically by what you are. But, it's the getting up and going on, getting up and trying again, getting up and doing it again, or trying to do it again. That is where it comes in, because I don't expect anybody with MS, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, to sit around and say, gee, I've lost. Let's make a list here. I've lost this. I've lost that. You are aware that there may be deficiencies or something less than desirable in maybe your vision or your hearing or your balance or, whatever. Brain fog, my favorite topic. I hate that. But you know what? I hear a voice in the background. Go ahead. Well, I thought I did. Your hearing's going like I'm hearing voices. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I haven't had huge losses. So I'm not, my losses tend to be smaller than what a lot of people have talked about. And, pardon?
I think that's an echo. That's not my voice. I think we've got a little interference. Probably all that great weather we've got in between us here.
I get snow.
Yeah, right. The snow made me do it.
Yeah.
Well, that was me, Day, and I accidentally had it on speakerphone, Sorry about that.
Oh, Dave.
Okay, Dave.
Yeah, I took it off though.
Yes, thank you.
And yes, my losses, I guess you could say, now I consider them to be challenges because I can't overcome them. I've been kind of lazy bummish here lately, I guess you could say. And
you've been what?
Kind of been a lazy bum, I guess you could say. Yeah. Well,
why? What's happening?
I've been sitting in my chair all the time thinking, oh, I can get better. And I sit here thinking, well, gee, I can get better. It's just you have to do something. And I sit here thinking, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. No, take it slow, one step at a time. And, well, my husband is my caregiver. And he works on a lot of things, you know.
Yeah.
He does the cooking and cleaning.
How many hours does he work?
Oh, enough to make somebody tired all the time. And we are battling this cold versus flu, or cold/flu. Well, I think we've gotten rid of the flu, but the cold is still trying to get us. As you can probably tell, I sound weird, a little nasally.
Plugged up.
Yep, plugged up, congested, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Well, no, Dan, guy works his tail end off, I guess you could say. I mean, he does so much every day, and it's like, oh my God, that guy, he is just, wow. He can do so much for us all the time. He takes care of Hunter and gets to school and Hunter off to daycare, and, well, I'm just happy if I can wash the dishes for him every day. And so today I says, I'm going to walk around the table nonstop. Well, I don't know about nonstop, but I'm going to walk the table every day, get my legs stronger. I need to get on my feet again. And after reading Dr. Cartwright's book, The Memory of Permanent Reading book, I can see how things are going to get better. I mean, there's some areas that I've already noticed a few things with, and I will not mention them, but yeah, things are improving.
And you're moving in the right direction. You know, you really are. And yes, you've got to stop procrastinating sometimes.
Exactly. We
all do, Jay. You're not alone. But let me ask you this: how does Dan? What does he do in the role? I don't mean necessarily the individual chores, but what's his attitude? Does he hide being your caregiver? Does he hide emotion? I know it's different with guys. I know that, but how?
Yeah, he is that way. He gets pissed off, I guess you could say. Pardon my language. But yeah, he has a language problem, and unfortunately, I think Gabriel's took up on it too. That's that. It's like, oh my word, we got our toilet fixed in the bathroom now. It doesn't make any noise. It's good because that thing has been taking water out of her utility bill every month. It's like, now we should have a smaller utility bill. It's not by much, I don't know. But yeah.
So he handles it verbally. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
He handles a lot of it verbally, expresses himself verbally.
Yes, he does.
A lot of men do.
Yeah. And unfortunately, maybe someday Hunter's going to start speaking like that too. And it's like, oh my word, I don't want to hear that.
I know.
I mean, I used to cuss my head off too, but I put myself on cuss watch and slapped myself every time I start. Yes, I did. Put myself on cuss watch. Well, yeah, it's kind of funny.
Cuss watch. I like that.
Yes. I put myself on cuss watch because I did not like the way I was talking. I say, hey, you're growing up. You're going out into the real world one of these days, and you do not need to use that kind of language.
Yeah.
A lot of people do not want to hear it.
Yeah.
I wish Gabriel would think of that eventually, too. That kid.
All right. We are now coming up on
we are.
the end of the program. I can't believe it. Oh my goodness, an hour slipped by again. But what a conversation we've had. I've learned a lot. Starting with Donna and Lynn from that article, and then talking with you guys. I really have. You've all shed a whole different light on this topic. And before we go, Carol, I cut you off, and I'm sorry about that, but I couldn't break our train of thought. Did you want to take 1 minute before we go to the prayer portion and tell us about what you were going to tell us about?
I was just going to say, when you were talking about losses and Donna, the tears, it's like I don't think I can form tears anymore in my eyes. Not that I don't have the emotion of it, but it's like my eyes have becoming very dry, and I can't form tears.
But you still feel the emotion that would normally create the tears, correct? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So I remember you brought this up as loss, and that's what come to my mind because we were talking about Donna's tears.
Right.
She not letting her husband see her tears.
Right. Right. She was blinking them back. Yeah. Well, Donna, if you're listening, our heart goes out to you, girl, and to Lynn, because everybody on this call understands.
Yeah.
We all get it. We all get it. All right, we're coming into the closing minutes of this portion of the call. Is there anybody that wants to add anything, a comment on this or anything else before we move into the prayer portion of the call?
No. Just thank you for everything you do.
Yes, thank you so much.
Oh, guys.
Yes, definitely.
This is
thank
amazing.
You. And I had nothing else to add, so I'm done. I'm good. I'm good.
I'm finished.
Well, you guys, you're more than welcome, and sometimes I think I don't do enough, but at the same time, it's
good Lord.
a pleasure.
I guess this is Sherry. I've been waiting to jump in here.
Jump in here.
Last night, Carl was sitting on the toilet. That happens to a lot of people. But anyway, and I said, well, buddy, you're not going anywhere right now. You're going to hear me. Everybody goes on and on and on about Sherry's so strong. Sherry's so happy all the time. Sherry's always smiling, this and that and the other. I said, you know what? There are times I'm not strong, Carl. And you know what? I miss walking. I miss working. I miss bowling. I miss sitting on the floor with the grandkids, which I never got to do, by the way. I've never sat on the floor with my grandkids. And I miss so much. I miss cooking. I miss baking. And then he went on and he said, Sherry, you don't know how bad I miss you cooking. And he said, I used to come home from work to a hot meal on the table, and I miss your baking. I used to come home to fresh baked cookies and stuff. He said, I don't get that anymore. And I said, you selfish thing. Do you realize what's happening? You're turning the tables. Everything is always me. I'm trying to state my case here about things I miss, and you have to turn the tables.
Well, you needed support, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And I thought it was funny. But he's my caregiver. He's the best husband anybody could ask for. And I've told him that thousands of times. But I just wanted to vent a little bit and make humor out of it. He was turning the tables. Oh. Everything's me. What about me?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. That's too bad.
It's a good thing you can vent because there's a lot of people who can't.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who can't. So it's good, and it's good you can put a little humor in there too, and make your point, drive your point home, so to speak, all at the same time. And
try it again. Try it again.
Yeah.
Don't just try once.
Yeah.
Go for it again, Carol.
She's right. She's right, Cherry. She's right. Because the one thing that I'm really getting out of this conversation today, and starting with Donna and Lynn, is that, sometimes we forget we have our voices, and our voices must be heard. We have a right to be heard. Just like everybody else in this life, we tend to go down the path of talking about the normal people. Okay, God bless all the normal people in the world. We love you guys. We really do. We love all our caregivers. We really do. But we have a voice of our own, and we need to be heard. There are times we have a right to be heard. And I don't think there's anybody on this call, live or on the replay listening, that would disagree with me.
I do agree. But sometimes they may look at it as you're complaining, too.
But
that'll be another subject.
That is another subject, yes. Okay, to be continued. But we have a right. We have a right to be heard. Not in a complaining, critical way, but, to bring it to the attention of the rest of the world. But, yeah, we can get into that. That would be a raw one on the nerves, wouldn't it? So, yeah, let's do it.
That's all I'm going to do next time. It's just complain.
Yeah. What was that? What was that, Virginia?
I said, that's all I'm going to do next time is just complain.
No, I'm not talking about complaining. I'm just saying. This is, saying. This is the reality, because we are the other side of that reality, right? We are. Our voices are, and I'm not saying complaints. Yeah, let's scratch that word, please. But our opinions, our state of affairs is the other side of the reality of things. And we have a right to express that. We have a right to be heard, not complain. Oh, there's a place for that too. But I think you understand where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, anybody else really quick? We're going to need to move along into the next portion of our call. Anybody? Okay. All right. Let me take a sip of my juice, please. And we are now going to move into the prayer portion of our call. And for those who may be listening for the first time and don't know what the prayer portion of the call is, we always end our calls here on Heart Talk with a prayer and the reading of the names on the prayer list. And we do that for a very specific reason, because I believe from the bottom of my heart that God has brought us together on this call once a week.
Yes.
Going on 3 years.
Yes, Lord.
Yeah. For very specific reasons, maybe some we don't even know. But I know, it always lifts my spirits. It makes me feel better, even if I come on feeling good or not so good. I feel great because I've been visiting with you, and you've been sharing your wonderful thoughts and emotions and energies with me too, and it's a beautiful thing, and I'm very grateful. I also know that we need to say thank you. And who do we say thank you to? We need to say thank you to God and our Lord Jesus Christ for bringing this, for allowing this, for helping to bring it together, and all of us together from all parts of the world.
Yes.
Really, not just everybody on the call.
That's the most important thing. That's the most important thing.
What was that, Loretta?
That's the most important thing. We're from all parts of the world.
We are.
And we all share one common thing, and we're brought together to see that is reality.
That's right.
I love it.
I do too. And I mean, truly, I look forward to Tuesday mornings every week. I really do. I really do. And I just kind of can't wait to see where it goes each time and what everybody's got to say and what they think about this or say about that. So this is our way of saying thank you to God for bringing us together, for allowing this great privilege, and I consider it a privilege. So with that, let us enter now the prayer portion of our call. And let me ask, do we have any new names to be added to the prayer list this week?
Yes, ma'am, I have one.
All right. Oops, I lost my place. Okay, I'm ready for you.
His name is Alberto, Alberto
okay.
Martinez.
Alberto Martinez is now on the prayer list.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Anyone else? Any more names to go on the prayer list this week? No. Okay. All right. Another sip of my juice. One moment. All right. Let us now enter the prayer portion of our call, and we will begin with the prayer and then the reading of the names on the prayer list. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your divine intervention into the lives of so many that need your help. We ask that you answer our fervent prayers to help those who are in need and afflicted with multiple sclerosis and other ailments and diseases that are interfering with their lives and in many cases crippling their lives. And as we read these names aloud now, Father, we ask that the Holy Spirit move through these lines of communication that are connecting us all around the world, and that the Holy Spirit will carry our voices together with our prayers into the heavens, and that you will hear our prayers and grant comfort to those who ask for your divine intervention in their lives, for them and for their families, and to grant them healing, to restore them to good health, and that you will cover them with your blessings and divine presence and protection. We thank you, Father, for hearing our prayers. In Jesus' name, amen. And I will now read the names on the prayer list. Donnell, Linda, Sandra, Erica, Shamang, Dyke, Carlos in Canada, Janet Carroll and family, Tish and Luke Roskams in the UK, Mary Ferris, Jeremy Mann, Julie Perkins, Rayshawn Jefferson, Damon Jones, Scotty Williams, Barbara Cleary in the UK, Linda Hawley, Sylvia, Greg Evenson and family, Arthur Marsalis, Veronica Lewis, Tanya Thompson, Kathy Pedrick, Mark, Francine Mankari, Tamala Lewis and family, Michelle, Joe in the UK, Carol in Iowa, Edie in Missouri, Alberta in Kansas, Will and Konachek, Sandra Moen in Canada, Susan, Russ Dizdar and family, Donna and Nathan Leal, Kathleen in Boston, Frankie, Melissa, and Destiny in Boston, Tracy Whiting, Clint and Cliff in Kansas, Phyllis in Kansas, Jennifer in the UK, Linda Jean, Sherry Gudgeon, Sabrina Sutton, Tracy Backer, Melanie Monteith, Edie Neal, Sybil Wynnum, Manfred Pauli in Venezuela, Donna and son Andrew, Mubin in Cape Town, South Africa, Rona, Noor, Rami, Ferris, Muhammad, Jill Hahn, Travis and Ellen Thacker, John, Tommy and family, Dennis Walker, Faye, Maria in South Africa, Jennifer, Charlotte Matrisic, Maria in Nevada, Louise in Alabama, Patty in Alabama, Sybil Wyndham, Gloria, Contessa, Mrs. Disney, Ladios, Dr. Paul Hegstrom, Lorraine, Irene, Lydia, Mike Newcomb, Beverly Raza, Jason, Charlene Kelly, Daniel and Faniel in Toronto, Frankie, Robert, Stacy, Judy, Sarah, Ron and Marge, Constance Wadlington, Toretta, Glenda from Kansas, Larry Nichols, Melanie, Floyd, Amy and Eric Olson, Trudy, Gladys, Gerald Taylor, Diamond, Gregory, Irma, Travis John, Ertis, DeMarcus, Anne, Richard Brezen, Helen, Pearl, Irma, Grace, Rebecca, Linda and Joe in the UK, Dan and Jason Junker, Dion in Michigan, Joshua and Johnny Laverta, Kalila, Aralee, the Marsh family, Julie Mullins, the Grant Anderson family, Chad Cowan, Randy Guerra, Barry Walcott, Tina and CJ, Ray, Mackenzie, Deborah, Sally, Joe and family, Gina, Mary in Alaska, Veronica Thomas, Karen in Seattle, Michael Freeman, Megan, Trudy, Jeremiah Mask, Gwennabi in Russia, Jeff Olson, Kelly in Texas, Jennifer in Kansas, Geneva Norris, Latasha Coleman, Seth Thomas, Jim Thomas and family, Tanisha Washington, Cindy, Guillermo, Eula Cooper, Robert in Alexander, Leo Torres, Chris Elias, Jeff London, Jared Chambers, and John Chambers and family, Eddie Tiny, Leslie Cavazos, Ryan Cadillo, Aaron Marsh, Jimmy in the UK, Valerie and Hillary Perry, Blanche Collins, Flick Mays, Michael Kuhlman, the Pope family, Baldonado family, Mary Jo in Fargo, Danielle Duran, Dr. Marty Sanders, the Hargrave crew, the Lena Davis family, Sharon in London, Billy Medlock, Lola Striggles, Rondella Canida, Dave McCartney and family, Nicole, Shay Standifer and family, Billy Coleman, Rita Nixon, James Grace, Alton Johnson, the Johnson family, Tracy and Alice Daniels, the Elias family, Arlen, Kathy and Al Matthews, Deborah Yars De Lorenzo, Chadrick Watson, Kevin Giles, Eric, the Collins family, the Johnson family, Trevia Powell Clark and family, Ray LaBelle, Tony Delsey, Edward McFarland, Seth, Malaya Marnie Horton Fisher, Abe Martinez, Roscoe, Hattie Battle, Alberta